Let me know when it's live, but all right, here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Wisco Fanatics. We are without a Simon this week.
Yep, but we got somebody else instead.
We do. We have a better person in the place of Simon. Hey, there he is, Mike Spofford. Welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. So I'm just gonna give a little update. Tyler, myself, and Bryant for Packer episodes. We're doing a little contest where we with our scores from the head. I'm taking total scores, adding them up, and then I take the total score from the Packer game and I add it up. And who's ever the farthest away has to donate $50 to Tyler and I's scholarship that we're going to be giving away this next summer. So a little update on that. The Packers have 361 total. That's their total score with their opponents. Bryant has 345, so he's the closest right now. So congratulations. And the most shocking news that I think I've had in a long time is through 10 games from scores from the head, Tyler and I have the exact same number. And I literally didn't believe it. So I checked it twice. And that is, and Tyler always says this line, you know, when we're talking, you know, we could be talking Bucks, Brewers, Badgers. He goes, "Get out of my head." And that's the most ridiculous statement now because we are in each other's head right now. So a little update on that. Mike, Tyler, not this Mike, another Mike, our Badger expert. We're doing that for the Badgers show as well. So I'll give an update on that on Wednesday. But we're going to get rolling on this Packers episode. So, Mike, what's new? How you doing, man?
I'm all right, fellas. How are you guys doing?
Surviving.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, I would say we're probably doing better than a big chunk of the fan base because we were realistic with our expectations for this season. And we have the ability to stay a little bit more level-headed when even some of the lower expectations aren't met. So I think we're doing a little bit better than the average fan, maybe, but we're trying to help them out with that.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yeah, having the cautiously optimistic approach helps a lot. Obviously, you're still passionate, so during the game, you're like, come on, man, just get it done, get it done, get it done. What are we doing here? Right. But it's been so much easier for me this year to, like, wind down within, like, 5-10 minutes after the game to be like, okay, well, let's look at the positives that came away from it. I think we've seen great growth the last 2 games from Jordan Love. You can see it's almost like it's slowing down for him. So overall, I've been pretty happy, pretty, easy to get over the games. And I think there's a lot of young talent I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's, I admit, though, I mean, it's hard to just gloss over, how tough it is. Because, I mean, my first thought, walking out of that press box in Pittsburgh and heading downstairs for the press conferences, like the thoughts that were in my head was like, man, if they had played like that in Vegas and in Denver, this team's got 2 more wins, and as hard as that loss was in Pittsburgh, and it was tough. I mean, it was that much tougher because, in my mind anyway, because they had played so much better offensively, and you're walking away from that going, man, and I was even looking back this week, why, I don't know. I torture myself, I guess, in some respects, but I look back mentally and through the play-by-play a little bit of like those Vegas and Denver games. And it's like you're reminded, right before the last interception against Vegas, there were 2 drop passes, and right before the last interception in Denver, they were in field goal range and to win the game. And then a holding penalty pushes you out of field goal range, and so it's just, it's like those things where, and ifs and buts, candies and nuts as we get close to the holidays and all that. but this team is, obviously 4-5 or 5-4 would just feel so much better than 3-6. Even if you lose the Pittsburgh game, as tough as that was, it's like you're looking at, so many more positive things to come out of it. So, record aside, you kind of have to cast that aside right now and just go, all right, the progress is there, right? We've seen it. It's there. It hasn't translated into victories yet. I mean, since week 1, the only victories this team has, unfortunately, is against backup quarterbacks and with New Orleans and the Rams both losing their starters. But I think there's been the progress is there. That if they can keep playing like this, as Matt LaFleur said after the Pittsburgh game, you keep making progress like this, the wins are going to start to come. It's just you just don't know exactly when that's going to happen.
Yeah, I told Jake and Tyler after the game, like, people are gonna be upset, but we gave a 6-3 team pretty much all they could handle on their home field, and we're not in the business of blaming refs, but I still don't understand. Like, I don't think there's been a good explanation for that play.
It was a huge call in the game. There's no getting around that. I mean, yeah, you don't want to let it all hang on the refs and everything else, but it's an enormous call in the game that, you know, either should have been a 1st and goal for the Packers or possibly should have been a touchdown if they had just never blown the whistle in the first place. I mean, we all know that. It's tough. It's another tough break. I mean, you know, this team hasn't gotten you know, a lot of good breaks in that regard, but yeah, just another part of that game that made it tough to swallow for sure.
Yeah.
Packers Total Access on YouTube said, "What's up, fellas?" Mike, I'll give you the choice. Do you want to talk about coaches or Jordan Love first?
I mean, either way, guys, go right ahead and fire away.
Jake and I tend to be bad news first guys, so we can talk about the coaching staff first. So I think we're feeling a little more optimistic about Jordan Love after the last 2 weeks, like Brian said. But first thing, out of the head coach, Matt LaFleur, and the 3 coordinators, Adam Stenavich, Rich Bisaccia, Joe Barry, whose job is safe?
I mean, I think Matt LaFleur's job is 100% safe. I do not see any decision from Mark Murphy after this season of moving on after this year. I think the development of Jordan Love is obviously the key, and I just don't see Matt LaFleur's job being in jeopardy at all. I mean, quite frankly, I'm not one to necessarily talk about whether guys' jobs are you know, on the line or not. Mm-hmm. I'll say this with regard to Joe Barry and the defense, and I know all the, you know, where the fans are at and all that. Yeah. I read it in the emails every day. I think at the end of the day, the most disappointing thing with regards to this Packers defense is that in 2023, it's riding the same roller coaster that it rode in 2022, where you see flashes of good play, you see some stretches in games, sometimes even close to a full game of some pretty good defense, and then you see things where it feels like it completely falls apart, and it's hard to get a grip on that. It's hard to have a real good explanation for that when, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are not Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're not Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I mean, some challenges that are coming up here for the Packers defensively are much bigger than the ones they have faced. And by and large, against some teams that they should have been able to hold under 20 points, the Packers defense did that. They did their job in that respect. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you've played 9 games this year and 3 of the 9 you've allowed over 200 rushing yards, and you've shown in other games how much better you can play the run, that's where I talk about just the inconsistency, the roller coaster. And I talked all last off season, my whole thing about the Green Bay Packers defense in 2023 is you've got to smooth out the ride. You've got to be more reliable. You've got to be something that, you know, the head coach and his offense and everything can count on to play a certain way. And it's been this roller coaster. I think the rushing defense is the biggest example of that. The fact that the defense is riding the same roller coaster as it was last year, the play has not smoothed out any more than it did a year ago. That I think is the most frustrating aspect of what's going on that side of the ball.
Yeah, that's where you came to with that, because the next thing I was going to ask you was, how do you fix the Green Bay run defense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. You know, they've proven that they can play the run a lot better than they have in certain situations. And I'm the first to admit, I never played tackle football. I never strapped on a set of pads. I've never coached the game. I look at it, I analyze it from the perspective that I have. I don't know how things can go so drastically one way to the other, where for a couple of weeks you allow 2.5 yards a carry, and then suddenly for an entire game with a team running the ball down your throat, you're allowing 5.5 to 6 yards a carry.
I have a theory.
I don't know. I mean, go ahead if you guys want to talk about it. I don't know what the answer is to that, because the Packers have shown that they can do it, and why it's so inconsistent, I think is it's not only frustrating, but it's also for me hard to explain.
I think the most disappointing thing for me is just that, like, it's been a couple, like, at least this game for sure, like, you got to make Kenny Pickett try to beat you, and the way you do that is by shutting down the run. So I feel like we should have sold out for the run a lot more. Or however, it looked like guys were overshooting gaps, and I think Matt LaFleur talked about that a little bit. And they're not doing their sound defense, but that comes down to players making plays and, some maybe, identifying something in the coaching. But some of those games where you're playing like, Kenny Pickett, you need to make them beat you through the air. Now we have Herbert, Herbert, Goff, and Mahomes back to back. You're probably gonna play a little bit lighter on the run, but those running backs are scary because Austin Eckler, Gibbs, and Isaiah Pacheco are huge threats out of catching the ball too. So it's going to be really interesting to see what their plans are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been again, I don't like always going back to last year, but it just there's so much of it that feels defensively it feels the same to last year for me, and a lot of the personnel. There are some newer guys being worked in, but for the most part on defense, you've had a lot of the same personnel as last year. And you talk about, okay, you got to sell out to stop the run. You got to make Kenny Pickett beat you. Well, last year they had the Thursday night game at home against the Tennessee Titans, and they completely sold out to stop Derrick Henry, which they did. And then Ryan Tannehill completely torched them with big play after big play. And when the offense didn't have a very good night, they got beat. Now, that is an example. When I went back and looked at that game last year after it happened, there were a lot of problems going on in the secondary in that game. In part, Darnell Savage was, in my opinion, freelancing a little bit in terms of the scheme, and that was a big reason for some of those big plays being allowed. And it wasn't a surprise to me that the very next game, Darnell Savage was on the bench, And so if you're the coaches, like, what are you going to do? I mean, last year you had Derrick Henry, you sold out to stop him, and you did, but then you had guys in the secondary trying to make plays that they weren't supposed to make, and you still got torched by a middle of the road quarterback, and you lost a game that at home that you very well should have won. So I think the issues with this defense over the last couple of years, to me, it's been this big hodgepodge of everything. I don't think there's any one place you can put the blame, but I don't think there's anybody who's devoid of blame in terms of the inconsistencies and how this defense just rides this roller coaster.
For me, I think there's one thing that intensely strongly correlates with how the defense performs, and it's their tackling. The roller coaster that the defense rides, their tackling rides the exact same roller coaster. So if we're talking about the Steelers game and the rushing that the Steelers were able to put up, the Packers missed 16 tackles.
Yeah. That
is absurd. That's like 3 times the amount you should be aiming for as a goal.
Yeah.
16 tackles missed is wild. And, you look at the stat sheet and you see that the Steelers had 205 rushing yards. 119 of them came after contact.
Right.
Over 50% of their rushing yards were after contact.
Right. No, and that's a valid point, because you look back at, as I say, the defense has been on this roller coaster, good games, bad games, good stretches, bad stretches. The worst defensive game, in my opinion, last year was the night game out in Philadelphia. Now, of course, the Eagles ended up going to the Super Bowl, almost won the Super Bowl. They were a heck of a team, right? That was an absolutely abysmal defensive performance. But what was the biggest thing that stood out about that performance in Philadelphia? They missed a boatload of tackles. I mean, guys were in position to make plays. At least, stopping, if you can stop a run for 5 yards instead of letting it rupture for 15 or 20, that's going to change a lot of things. That game in Philadelphia last year, worst defensive performance of the season, was also the worst tackling performance of the season. So there's a lot to be said for the correlation that you're drawing there. No question about it.
Yeah. So we'll switch off of the coaching staff and we can have a little more fun and talk about Jordan Love.
All right.
So this can be across the whole season, but what have you seen Jordan Love really improve on?
I mean, for me, what I've seen is his ability to deliver the ball from some different platforms. And I think that was most evident as far as within one game. I think that was most evident in the Pittsburgh game last week, whether you're talking about having a clean pocket and, having your footwork there and being able to step into throws. But then there were also some plays where, not necessarily saying he was on the run, but where he had to make an adjustment, to move himself in the pocket and then still get off a good throw, or be able to avoid the sack and just throw an incomplete pass and be able to avoid, the negative play. Unfortunately, Jordan Love can't avoid the negative plays with regard to the run, because it seems like there are always those key moments where there's a handoff and then there's just a complete, wreck job against the run where you lose 3 or 4 yards on a play, and you're just kind of like rolling your eyes like, my gosh, be better to throw an incomplete pass there. Right. So he can't do anything about those. But when I look at, for example, the 2 big plays to Jaden Reed in Pittsburgh last week, the touchdown pass, the 35-yarder, that pocket was as clean as it gets, man. I mean, the protection was there. It was completely solid. And he had vision over the entire field. He stepped in, threw the deep ball, laid it right on the money. I mean, there you go. Then the first play of the final drive of the game, which ended up kind of being a busted play, a little bit of improv. Jaden Reed's middle route is completely blanketed. The 2 safeties are bracketing him deep down the middle of the field. Love kind of steps up to his left. He's got pressure coming in his face. He sees an empty area of the field where Jaden Reed might be able to get there, so he lets it fly. And Reed, fortunately, is able to see it. He's on the same page improv-wise with him, and goes and makes a catch for 46 yards and gives him a chance on that final drive at the end of the game. I mean, those are 2. They go in the scorebook as a 35-yard pass to Jaden Reed and a 46-yard pass to Jaden Reed. Those are 2 completely different plays in how they unfolded, how they were executed, and how they were successful. And seeing stuff like that is what tells me that things are coming along for Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's that second throw to Reed too. He was like off balance because he was stepping forward and kind of like stepped on his offensive lineman's foot, and he's kind of falling down as he was throwing it. That was impressive.
Barry, like welcome back. Man. So it looked like a duck, but it was perfectly on target. I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah, I mean, seeing that from the press box, like when he let it go, it was sort of like, wait a minute, because watching from the press box, it was like, where's he throwing that? And then it was like Reed was like headed right to that area of the field, and then it was like, oh, it was it was right there. And then when I looked at the film afterwards, I noticed that the safety that Reed had crossed over to go that way, his entire body was shifted the other direction, so he had no chance to spin around, and get back there. And that's just a really good job by both the quarterback and the receiver of reading the body position of the coverage guys and trying to make something happen, in an improv sense. And it worked out, and it gave him a chance at the end.
I thought the throw to Dobbs was another, like, when I'm watching on TV, right, I thought he was throwing out of bounds. I thought he was just getting rid of it. And then, so I know we don't have the best view on TV, but you can see how much touch he put on that because he got it up and over. I thought it was going out of bounds. So he, gave Dobbs enough room to make a play. And people are like, oh, it's only like an 8-yard touchdown pass or whatever it was. Yeah, but he threw that ball like 35 or 30 yards or whatever to the back of the end zone across the field there. Like that was a really good throw as well. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny that you would say that, because I actually said to Wes in the press box, as soon as he let go of that ball, I was kind of like, I mumbled under my breath, like, oh shoot, because I thought the same thing as you. Like when I saw it live, I thought he was just throwing it away, like he didn't have anybody, and then it ended up being right on target for Dobbs to make the toe tap catch. I mean, the other thing I'll point out too, and I don't want this to become like a whole big defense of Jordan Love, because, some of the criticism of him is warranted, and there are certainly still things that he needs to work on. But there was a play, I believe it was early in the fourth quarter. It was a third down, and A.J. Dillon misses the blitz pickup, and Love manages to avoid the sack. He gets out of the pocket, and then he tries to fire on the run to Tyler Kraft, and the throw is behind him, and it's incomplete. And immediately, like, everybody that I'm seeing in the live blog and seeing on Twitter and everything else is like, oh my God, it was like another inaccurate throw, like can't hit his guy, whatever. And it's like, if you look at that play, if he throws it accurately for Tyler Kraft, that ball's going to get picked off. He saw the defender was closing in from behind on Kraft. He threw it behind him on purpose, just in the hope that maybe Kraft could stop his feet and reach back and catch the ball. It didn't work out, but it's an incomplete pass and they punted. If he actually throws it to where Tyler Kraft is running, that's an interception, and that game is over way before the final 2 possessions of the game. And those are the kind of plays that it's like everybody wants to criticize him for that. And it's like, look at the play. That ball's going to be an interception if he throws it where you think he's supposed to throw it. He didn't throw it there. He kept the ball safe, allowed him to punt, and allowed him to stay in the game on a play that was completely busted. So seeing things like that too, especially in the ways that even later in that game, he forced a ball that he knows he shouldn't have. We saw in Vegas and in Denver, he was forcing balls that he probably shouldn't have. The fact that in that moment in the fourth quarter, trailing on a third down, avoids a sack, he didn't force the ball. He threw it away. They let him punt, and you stayed alive. I mean, it's little things like that hopefully you see that the progress is going to be there. And unfortunately, in my opinion, he actually didn't get enough credit for a play that was an incomplete pass that very easily could have been an interception if he's just looking at his receiver and not looking at the defense.
That's a thing where you really have to take the perception into account.
Yeah.
And it's a thing where you really have to at least be open to the idea of other points of view on certain plays. And instead of just seeing, this was an incompletion, now I have another reason to push my narrative that Jordan Love is an inaccurate quarterback.
Right.
As opposed to going through the breakdown that you just gave, that it's actually a smarter play where it's only where his receiver can catch it and not throwing it to where a defender has a chance to make a play on it.
Yeah, it was a shot in the dark. It was a miracle kind of thing. Like, there's very little chance that Tyler Kraft is going to be able to dig his feet in and be able to reach back and make that catch. And he couldn't, he wasn't able to react quickly enough to it. Obviously, Tyler Kraft doesn't see the defender bearing down on the front side who's going to pick that ball off if it's thrown that way. Right. So Love is trying to throw it a little bit behind him to see if he maybe has a chance to make a play, and it didn't work out. But in my opinion, that was actually when I looked at it, when I first saw it on replay in the press box, I thought that was actually a really smart play by Jordan Love. But then all you see everywhere is him being criticized. Oh, he's not accurate. He missed him and whatever. Well, if he had thrown it where you think he was supposed to throw it and that ball gets picked off, the criticism ratchets up even further. So
while we're on the go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, kind of talking about that too. I said immediately after the game too, because people are freaking out that he threw an interception in the game. And I said, what would you rather him do? Throw an incompletion? Maybe take a sack? Would that look better?
Throw the ball in the dirt or chuck it into the stands because nobody was – I mean, on the last play of the game, I do not blame Jordan Love one bit. It's like the fact that the Packers actually had a chance from the 16-yard line for one final play was like a borderline miracle, and he deserves some credit for that. And you got to take your shot, right? I mean, and you look at, I mean, the Steelers lined up 7 guys straight across the goal line, pylon to pylon. They were all right there. And
I asked somebody on Twitter, I'm like, what miracle play is there to draw to get somebody open 5 on 7?
I mean,
He's like, LaFleur should have drawn something up. I'm like,
yeah, that is not a normal red zone play, right? Like, that is not how defenses normally, line up to play in the red zone.
So I would love to see this miracle play.
The only thing I would have thought
it was an incredibly tough spot to be in. The one that was really unfortunate in my mind was the interception earlier to Watson.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. One, it was on second down. You weren't in a do or die situation there at all. After the game, I actually had asked LaFleur about that play, about that interception, and he said, in the post-game press conference that it wasn't the best coverage look for the route concept that they were running on that side. So he probably should have looked backside for another option. And then when I saw the replay in the press box right after the game, I leaned over to Wes and I said, Watson ran a bad route. He ran it out and up, and he didn't sell the out. And I'm sorry, but if you don't sell the out on a future Hall of Famer named Patrick Peterson, you're not going to get open on that, and it's because Jordan Love actually does the shoulder shake because Watson is supposed to be selling the out route, but the quarterback doing the shoulder shake doesn't do anything if the receiver is not selling it at the same time. So Peterson sticks with him all the way on the up and makes a great play. And unfortunately it didn't work out. And that's, it was a bad decision to make that throw in my opinion, but it was also a bad route where his receiver didn't follow the details of the route to give himself the best chance to make that play. And then not only does it not work, but it results in a turnover. So you don't even live for third down or even fourth down, or do you kick a field goal? You get within 1 point and then maybe you have a shot to win it. Like all those things we'll never know because the interception came on second down in the red zone.
It was kind of interesting to hear. So good question, because it was nice to hear. We were kind of talking about that before this, was to hear Matt LaFleur. I'm not saying to call people out, but kind of allude to those things like, hey, this is what we need. I noticed a little more out of that this week because he did it with Aaron Jones too, because Aaron Jones, like that's not a veteran move for him not to go out of bounds there. Like that was
100%.
You never know what could have, that's like 10, 12 seconds. We wouldn't, maybe we're not throwing from the 16-yard line in a prayer. Maybe
you might have two more plays. You might have two more shots in the red zone at the end there. You might have two more plays after the fourth down conversion instead of just having the one shot at it.
So, two things. One, about that play about Watson. I understand, but I don't enjoy Watson's dad and brother just throwing Jordan Love under the bus. That was just so uncalled for me. And I'm kind of like, dude, he's got to be on the same team as him. So, like, they got to work this shit out. Like, let them work it out themselves. They're both grown men, and they're growing together. They're figuring each other out. So that, to me, was just so uncalled for. But we're going to go to the next question here. I'm going to ask you this. And this one, oh, my God. I can't believe it's even a thing. What would you say to people wanting to start Clifford over Love?
I mean,
for real.
The reaction said it all.
I mean, and nothing against Sean Clifford. I love the guy. I've gotten to talk to him a couple times, and it's certainly fun to watch in the preseason. I think he exceeded everybody's expectations for a rookie preseason, for a fifth-round pick, and everything like that. And not just a fifth-round pick, but a guy that many people thought, might not even be drafted. But all of that aside, I mean, Jordan Love has waited 3 years for this opportunity. You don't pull the plug after 8 or 9 or 10 games or whatever it is. There is just no way you do that. I mean, and especially here's the thing. And again, I'm not trying to build, this wholehearted, incontrovertible defense of everything, because Love, there was some risks going into this with all of your receivers and your tight ends being as young as they were for a new starting quarterback, right? But the original construction, the original idea was that with regard to the veterans on the offense, what you would consider like the backbone, the veteran backbone of the offense was supposed to be the left side of the offensive line with David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, and the running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. The way the first half of the season unfolded, you lost Bakhtiari, you lost Aaron Jones for multiple games, and have had him multiple games on a snap count, on a rep count. And so what was supposed to be your veteran backbone of the offense, knowing that all the receivers and tight ends were going to be so young, that did not go as planned. So for anybody who thinks that with all of that as the context, that after 8 games or 9 games or 10 games, you're supposed to just pull the plug on Jordan Love and send in your rookie 5th-round draft pick when you've been working 3 years to get Jordan Love to this point, to give him this opportunity, to me, that is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, for me, like, and it's not like he's played all that bad, right? Yeah, great answer. I love that. But
yeah, I was enjoying listening to you cook, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's thrown for 2,000 yards. He's got 14 touchdowns. Yes, he's got the 10 interceptions, but let's see. This last one, you could probably he's trying to make a play. Same with against Oakland, just trying to make a play there at the end of the game.
Yep.
Denver is a little more like, hey man, like that hurts because we saw a decent chance of getting a field goal range there. But like, if so, would you feel better if we said he had 14 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions? I don't think he's lost a fumble. I think overall he's has less turnovers and scores. And you're right, he has a super young team that he's learning around that's been super injured. Like for me, it's like I guarantee there's a few teams probably that wish they were in our situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say this about the interceptions. I mean, I referenced it earlier. The interception at the end of the Vegas game came right after back-to-back drop passes by Romeo Doubs and Luke Musgrave. Doubs on the sideline, Musgrave over the middle. Back-to-back drop passes. He's in 3rd and 10. He takes a shot, and the ball gets picked off. The Denver game, the interception comes after a holding penalty that eventually puts him in 3rd and 20 or whatever it was.
3rd and 20.
I'm not excusing the interceptions, but it's not just, you can't just look at a stat and say like, okay, this guy is 100% responsible for these numbers. I mean, one of the interceptions against the Vikings, Jaden Reed got the ball ripped out of his hands by the safety for an interception. Like, is that interception Jordan Love's fault? Not a chance in the world, So, I mean, but it's, everything that has gone wrong with the offense has been a collective group thing. And Jordan Love's ultimate success and where I think this is headed is also going to be ultimately a group thing. It's not going to be all him. It's going to be everybody else coming along with him. I think that's the vision that Gutekunst and LaFleur have. And yeah, everybody's getting frustrated. Everybody's getting impatient. Nobody likes to be 3-6. Those guys don't like to be 3-6. Everybody at the top of the brass in the Packers organization, nobody wants to be 3-6. But it's taking maybe longer than anybody had hoped and whatever. But when you see the progress, that's what you have to build on. Whether you were hoping that progress would be a month and a half ago, well, it didn't happen, but it's happening now. So build on it, see what you can do with it, and let's see where this goes.
If you take a step back and put it in perspective, it's not as bad as people instantly want to make it out when you consider, yes, the record's not great at 3-6, but we're so it's one of those weird years like the Vikings last year. They won all the one-score games. We're just losing them this year. And with experience, that's going to eventually flip once we learn how to win these games and close these games.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's life, That's life in the NFL. I mean, I think back to LaFleur's first season in 2019. The Packers were winning, all kinds of one-score games. They didn't look all that great doing it, quite frankly. Aaron Rodgers was not playing like an MVP. The defense was actually carrying them in a number of games, and they were winning all kinds of close games. The Packers, close game record in 2019 was a lot like Minnesota's last year, quite frankly. And, sometimes that, there's something to be said for that when you can find ways to win that way. But that's also just the way this league goes sometimes. And sometimes those games are not going to go your way. And you can't make the play at the right time. You don't get the break at the right time or whatever the case might be. And you just have to keep fighting and working your way through it.
I think that kind of goes along with some of Matt LaFleur's comments about the defense, where it's like you held them to 19 points or 17 points. Like, those are games you should be able to win. And I think that's where that kind of comes from.
Yeah.
I know we want to be respectful of your time. You got time for one more?
Sure.
What do you think Jordan Love can get better at?
Whew, boy.
Nothing. Put Clifford in. Got it.
No, I guess what I would say is I think it's the one thing I would like to see, because when you talk about young players, what you don't want to see is making the same mistake twice, right? You don't want to repeat similar mistakes. And what I've seen, I think, this year, at least 2, maybe 3 times from Jordan Love, is when they've been in field goal range and he's taken a sack. And
that's Brian's favorite thing.
And I think now, if you go back and watch Aaron Rodgers, he did the exact same thing.
No, and he did, and it's frustrating as heck, right? But what I've seen with Love at least a couple of times is where they've gotten into field goal range, and it feels like the offense has this momentum, and you can tell that he's trying to seize on that momentum, and it'll be a play where the pass protection initially is there and it holds up. But then he tries a little bit too hard to make something out of that play because it starts out with the right protection and starts out promising, and then it ends up kind of falling apart, and he ends up taking a sack, more of like a 4.5 or 5 second sack as opposed to 2 or 2.5 second sack. And those are the ones when those like knock you back out of field goal range. Those are the ones you have to avoid. You've got to, whether it's the clock in the head, whether it's just get out of the pocket, avoid the negative play at all costs when you're in scoring range, where an incomplete pass is a heck of a lot better play than a sack, and so I guess that's where I would say I would like to see the rest of the season to see that type of mistake or negative play be reduced, if not eliminated, from his game as much as possible.
Great point too, because we have I don't know if you've seen it, but Anders Carlson, I feel like he's gotten a little bit shaky the last 2 or 3 games, had a couple misses, I know the block isn't on him, and it's just awful blocking by DeGuara, but right. Even if it's not out of field goal range, just the few yards, like anything right now is going to help Anders Carlson. So no, great point.
Yeah. It's funny too, because Tyler started out by talking about how you look at things from different perspectives, right? So how different, even if the Packers lose the game, how different is the perspective of the Pittsburgh game if you're only down 3 and that final drive with 59 seconds left gets you to a tying field goal and gets the game to overtime? What are people saying about Jordan Love if he doesn't have to force the ball into the end zone with 3 seconds left and they can send out a kicker to get it to overtime instead? But you don't have that opportunity because of the block PAT. So it's, looking at things from all those different perspectives like that I think is important.
Yeah, it's the important context.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, we appreciate you hopping on with us for a little while. Absolutely, always would love to have you back, and I'm sure we'll be in touch during the rest of the season. And
yeah, absolutely. Hit me up, guys. Good to talk to you as always.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good night, Mike.
All right. Thanks. You too. Take care, fellas.
Barry said, "Thank you, Mike. You're a legend."
All right, let me touch on a few points real quick. First of all, I was just like so tuned in. He was cooking, dude. He came in here just hot. He was ready to just talk. That was awesome. He just totally cemented a couple things that we talked about. One, context matters when talking about things. Okay. Yep. The interception breakdown, man, I was just like, I was giddy inside, but I was trying to keep like stone face, like, yeah, bro, cook. But I was like, dude, seriously, some of these people, and this is the main point that I want to say. You have all these people that talk all this talk, right? And they talk, oh, we're gonna be rebuilding, build brick by brick, right? Nobody wants to do the damn work.
Nobody wants to lay the bricks. Everybody just wants to stand on the roof.
Dude, if you're gonna talk that talk, you gotta walk that walk, man. A lot of people, anybody can talk the talk. Yeah. Not everybody can walk the walk. Okay? This thing was always going to be brick by brick. We completely are resetting the foundation of this franchise right now. And after last week's game, I feel pretty damn good about how the foundation is coming together.
Yeah.
That was the main point that I wanted to get out there. But Mike Spofford, dude.
I don't understand the hate. Like, I guess I just don't get it, because I guess we're, kind of like we've been preaching for so long, putting it in perspective, being optimistic and stuff. Looking at Jordan Love, he's not been the problem. Could he have made a lot of plays? Yes. There's things that you're like, come on, man. Like those layups, like some of those layup throws, that's what I think he needs to get better at. Some of those layup, give me throws. We need to make those, right? And I think Mike hit the nail on the head. There are plays where it's like he's looking for the big play for so long that he will take a sack. That there's a couple long sacks that he's taken like throughout the the season or whatever. That's like, man, you got to get rid of the ball at that point. Like, you have to have an internal clock in your head. But overall, it's like, yeah, for the most part, he's protecting the ball. There's 3 interceptions that you can. Yeah, they're obviously on his record. They'll be in his record forever. But if you actually go back, instead of just looking at the box score, you understand what happened. Right. Like, so for me, I look at it as more, he's thrown 14 touchdowns, probably 7 legitimate interceptions, and he's thrown for 2,000 yards. So he's on pace for 4,000 yards. That'd be the best ever in Chicago Bears history. Like, I mean, you got to look at some of this stuff. Like,
we got to put that out there more often.
Yeah, people are just not putting it in perspective and looking at it as a young team. Our best wide receiver, I'm going into what I was going to say during the show. Our best wide receiver on the team right now is arguably a rookie. Like, they got to take time to develop. Okay.
I'm going to talk about some of the rookies when we get into some of the. I think I'm going to save it to the end unless we want to start with it after the stars. But I have a lot of stuff to say about the rookies, so we can get into some of this stuff. I think I'll say this in the last thing on having Mike Spofford on is the way that he talked about shared responsibility. That's my biggest thing, is that, you know, it's not Jordan Love with you know, a big group of veteran guys who have, you know, Devontae Adams, and he's got Chris Olave, who's a rookie with him, and he's, you know, he doesn't just have all of these things out here that are all set up perfectly for him, and he's the one that's not getting it done. We've seen it come from every place where there is responsibility here, where there's lapses in execution at times, and that includes the coaching staff. So it's a shared responsibility. It is a team of 53 players and countless coaches who all have to come together to make things happen. It is not all on one, one player, one person, which goes for the people who are mad at Christian Watson too. It's not all on him either. So that's it. Let's rattle off our recap here, starting with our 3 stars from the Pittsburgh game. Jake has number 1.
All right. So
this is the thickest notebook that I've ever seen.
Sorry. I put all of the sports in here. So
you got that 5-star, 5 subject.
Yeah, this is my 3rd one since we have started Wisco Fanatics. Nice. My 3rd notebook, my 3rd big 5 one.
That's why I invested in this bad boy. That's an investment for sure.
Maybe one day. That's a goal of mine. But
taxes, maybe.
Maybe I want to maybe
get taxes back.
But let's get started here. Let's get going on this. All right. So Jordan Love was our 1st star. He was 21 of 40, so the completion percentage still wasn't great. But there's a lot of things that go into that. Context matters. I'm not going to say it a million times, but it does. 289 yards, so close to that first 300-yard game. 7.2 yard average per pass. Love that. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We're not counting that last one. That doesn't count. And 72 QBR and a 71.8 rating. So, I mean, pretty good game from Jordan Love. We're going to add some context later when we talk about him specifically in his own segment. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Bryant is going to cover for Simon this week with the 2nd star.
Yeah, pretty easy. Just Jaden Reed, another super solid game. That's who I was saying is arguably the best wide receiver on our team. Dobbs has 6 touchdowns, but I think Jaden Reed has been more consistent. So he had the 5 receptions, the 84 yards, the touchdown. Mike gave us a great breakdown of how Jaden Reed and Love made that play, that 46-yard play towards the end of the game to even give us a chance. So, yeah, he absolutely earned the 2nd star.
All right, so I have the 3rd one. I wanted to mix it up by getting a defensive guy on here, and I picked T.J. Slayton for the 3rd star. He had 8 tackles, 1 quarterback hurry. He had 5 run stops. I think we need to give T.J. Slayton a little bit more credit this season and continue to do so for the improvements that he's made from last year. And then Bryant has the underrated performer this week.
So I was kicking around 2 of them. So the one that I decided not to choose, I'll mention his name anyway, was Luke Musgrave. I think he's really coming on as a huge step for this team, and he just can, starting to get better. He runs so fast he forgets to bring his feet with him sometimes. But the person I actually picked is Zach Tom, right? So we didn't really hear much about Watt all day aside from 1 sack, and I think that 1 sack was on a little bit of an extended play. I can't remember exactly how the sack happened, but that was the only sack that offensive line had all day. Like for Zach Tom, he's playing outstanding.
That's a great call. I love that, actually. Good pick.
Yeah, that was a very good pick.
All right, Bryant, rookie tight ends. So now you can talk about Luke Musgrave.
Oh, I thought you had tight ends, Tyler.
You're right, I do. You have the wide receiver development. I'm skipping ahead to my own stuff.
Yes, so wide receiver development. I'll talk about wide receiver development.
I don't even care what you have to say. I'm just yeah. I'm ready for my segment.
So, plain and simple, Christian Watson has to be better. He's supposed to be the most explosive weapon on our team, and there seems to be a disconnect between him and Jordan. And Matt LaFleur alluded to it, right?
Yeah.
And Mike just brought it up again. That play that resulted in an interception. It was a bad throw by Jordan Love, so he shouldn't have thrown it. That shedded a little light when Matt LaFleur came out and said he shouldn't have thrown the ball. But Christian Watson needs to run that he can't be running lazy routes, right? So that's unfortunate that he ran a lazy route, and that's what it leads to, right? So Matt LaFleur did say he wants Watson to continue to play fast, but he wants him to be more physical. So I expect them to keep going. Everyone wants to give up on a second-year wide receiver, and I don't know how, given our history, but give the guy time. There's going to be, spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of thrown balls this week. Some of those are going to go in Watson's direction, and he's going to have a chance to make some plays. Let's see him make some plays. He made plays. Everyone was loving him against the Rams when he, jumped up and made that catch, So give him a chance here. He's still young. He's going from there. Like I said, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Jaden Reed's been our best wide receiver on the year. Yes, I think it's now 7 receptions of over 30 yards in a row, or 30 yards so far on the season.
That sounds right.
Wicks has been really good as well. The game, the rookie wide receivers counted for 8 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. I'm delving into a little bit with Tyler right now, but rookie pass catchers this last game, 13 receptions, 205 yards, and a touchdown. That's rookies.
Brian Gutekunst doesn't deserve any credit.
Yeah. If you don't call it one play, I'm gonna have to step in on your tight ends, but go ahead for it. You'll probably get it, I'm sure.
We'll see. Okay. I just want to throw this out there first because I look up the numbers so that I can tell people what's happening instead of people just blindly complaining about it without actually knowing that the thing they're complaining about is actually the fact of the matter. It's Josiah DeGuara's snap count. So Josiah DeGuara is not a rookie tight end, but he's a tight end worth mentioning because he played 22 snaps. How many would you guess were on offense if you don't already know the answer?
He played 22 snaps. How many were on offense?
14.
I'll say 6. 4.
Oh, 5.
I knew I was close.
Snaps.
He doesn't play that much on offense anymore, dude.
He doesn't. And I've been talking about it for like 4 Fridays in a row.
He should be taking off kick blocking, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that was one of his 17 special team snaps. He did make a tackle.
Certainly special.
So, Tucker Kraft played 31 offensive snaps. This is now the 5th straight game that Tucker Kraft has outsnapped Josiah DeGuara. So for people complaining that Josiah DeGuara needs to be playing fewer snaps, he's barely playing at all.
I'm at the level where I don't even know why he's on the team anymore, to be honest. I feel
honestly, it's the way I look at it is that there's a little bit of toothpaste less in the tube, and the Packers are going to throw it away when the season's over. They're just trying to squeeze the last little bit of toothpaste out of Josiah DeGuara, and they're going to let him walk.
Like Josiah DeGuana at the end of the freaking season. Get it gone.
So
I didn't mean it as shit though, because Guana's that. Just want to clarify that. I was trying to make a fun on words.
So mean. All right. So Luke Musgrave, he played 50 snaps, 74% of the snaps. He had 4 targets. He caught 2 of them for 64 yards. And I would say he could have had a third one. Kind of a little bit of a low throw by Love, and a linebacker made a good play on it to knock the ball out of his hands. That's going to be a situation where, like, going forward as he becomes a veteran, like if Luke Musgrave can make that play, that's going to be some big boy pants stuff that puts him in the categories of some of the better tight ends in the league.
Okay, so
go ahead.
The play I got to call it was Tucker Kraft.
Go ahead.
Going head to head with TJ Watt, and I want to say Tucker Kraft won that exchange. I don't know if you guys seen that play where he caught it and it was his catch and he got it. That was TJ Watt that he went he pulled it, and he did not get laid out. he smacked him. Yeah. So like
he fell forward. So
dude, I'll say
more
this.
of a break even, but it was a good hit.
The rookie tight ends, dude, they give me a lot of hope. They're improving. They're starting to learn the zone defense. They're starting to learn the footwork in the run game. You could tell that every single game they're legitimately building brick by brick, and those two are going to be a two-headed monster. Like I'm thinking like Gronk and Aaron Hernandez type shit, dude. Like I'm not even shitting you.
Can we change that to some other dynamic duo?
I mean, listen, man, the off the field stuff with Hernandez,
on field from the off field.
It's obviously unfortunate that he acted the way that he did and he did that shit. But dude, on the field, dude, that guy was a stud.
Yeah. Tucker Kraft, 31 snaps, 51% of snaps. His first week playing over 50%, so good for him. He's getting more and more snaps. He had 2 targets. He did have 1 for 6 yards that Brian brought up. And then Benny Sims, 10 special team snaps. I don't think they're super heavily invested in him. Honestly, Minnesota is paying for most of his salary this season anyways, so it is what it is. Anything that we get from him is just bonus. On the subject of passing game distribution, 8 players were targeted. Love has still yet to have a game where he targets less than 7 players. Of 8 players targeted, 8 players had receptions. Reed was 5 for 5. Wicks was 3 for 4. Dobbs was 3 for 5. Jones was 4 for 5. And unfortunately, Christian Watson was 2 for 7. That said, the Packers were 2 for 5 on contested catches this week. That is better. 40%. I will take 40% on contested catches. And the unfortunate thing is on the season, the Packers are 13 for 51. That's about 25%.
I'm getting to the point, though, with Dontavian Wicks that is, I know he got 5 targets, but I'm at the point where he might need some more the way he's been playing.
And I'm not mad at it. And I actually really love the idea of hot swapping wide receivers in a lot, almost college style, and just always having fresh wide receivers.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to say Roman Dobbs is going to start to become a third down / red zone specialty player, but that's where he seems to thrive in those positions. I think Dontavian Wicks
touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
I feel like that kind of goes unnoticed. Dobbs has,
you know, who he kind of reminds me of. You know who he kind of reminds me of? James Jones. James Jones was great on third downs, and he was pretty good in the red zone when you need him to be. That's what he kind of reminds me of. So, like, I don't know if Dontavian Wicks and Reed are going to start to be our between the 20s and hopefully Christian Watson, and Dobbs in the red zone. But I really like our mixture. Obviously, we need Watson to take another step forward and these guys to continue to develop. But I'm really excited about this wide receiver core.
I think if Watson really buys in to the physicality aspect of football, and like he really buys into being 6'5", he reminds me of a post player that shoots a lot of threes. Get your big ass down low, right? That's what you say in basketball. If Watson buys into being 6'5" and being a physical guy, he could absolutely become a problem. And this offense then takes that next step, in my opinion. Yep. Also, with Love's development, I was going to say this later, but I'm going to say it right now just because what you said reminded me of what I was going to say. I think that we're going to get to a point where Jordan Love, where he's just going to pick a guy that's absolutely destroying a DB in a game, and that's just going to be his guy. Could be Dubs, could be Reed, could be Wicks, could be Musgrave. It could be any of them. They all have that potential, but I think Love is going to get to that point pretty soon. He's so close. So close.
That's why I keep bringing up the fact that he hasn't targeted fewer than 7 wide receivers in a game, or 7 receivers in a game, because I still am seeing it. Packers fans, please get with me on this. Drop the wide receiver 1. Drop it out of your mind. Please get rid of the depth chart mentality when it comes to wide receivers. Please. How many years did people spend complaining that Aaron Rodgers only targeted Devontae Adams? Drop the wide receiver 1 mentality. We want to have 4 guys who on any given week, any given play could be a wide receiver 1. We want to rule out the defense's ability to hone in on one guy and be like, if we stop them, their offense is fucked because that's the only guy he looks at. What if we have 5 of those guys?
Agreed.
What does the defense look at? They're like, shit, I don't know who to stop because he throws to all of them and they all can get 30-yard receptions on any given play.
Yep.
The one thing I want to say real quick, because it popped into my mind, I know we're going a little long here, but for Watson, I don't feel like we're getting him the ball in space. It's either he's running an out route and getting the ball and immediately having to go out of bounds, or he's just on a fly or something that we haven't connected on. I don't know why we haven't seen more slants or slash drag routes with him, getting him open into the middle of the field with some room to run. So I'm hoping we can start to see those because we've seen what he can do with those.
Or the end arounds. Why can't we run an end around with him?
Because he ran one and it didn't work, and now they throw it out the thing, but they'll continue to pitch it outside 5 times a game and lose 3 yards.
Yep, I agree. So, I was thinking about the end arounds, dude. I was like, dude, why not just run one with him every once in a while? Let him get the ball. Let him use his speed. Open up the fucking gauges, dude. Just let him go.
I will say on a little bit of it in the middle of the field, and I'm can only use one play to bring this up with, is they did have one target to him in the middle of the field. He made a diving catch. Love had to throw into a super tight window.
Dude, great throw.
Yeah. And that's just the thing where it's like then you have to kind of question what the separation looks like.
I guess he did have the bad drop in the middle of the field, but the guy was right on him. But yeah, like some drag routes or something, like run some natural picks or something and get this guy just a yard of space.
Maybe when I'm bored this offseason, I'll actually watch like all of the all 22 games and just see what his separation looks like on plays that aren't just deep flies down the field or quick outs.
Right.
Okay. Last thing I want to say on the passing game distribution, the Packers put up 93 yards after the catch. So for the handful of people that I've seen saying that Love doesn't give guys the ability to catch and run, you're wrong.
Good.
You're literally just wrong.
Great.
So on that, Simon is off this week. So Bryant, what do you have to say about the O-line?
Keep it short and sweet. Anytime you give up, you can leave a game against Watt, giving up 1 sack the entire game and then averaging 4.8 yards per carry. I would say you did your job. I was kind of surprised. I don't know why we only ran the ball 22 times and threw the ball 40. And this was one of those rare games that maybe Dylan should have had more carries than Jones because Dylan was cooking. I know he broke off the big one, but Jones was not that effective. I know, Jake. Don't look at me like that, but Jones
I was annoyed with people this week, dude.
Jones had a bad game though too. Like he made a couple boneheaded play. I'm like, Jones, come on, man. Either way, even if you give the ball to more Jones, like we seen Dylan break one. You're telling me that if that's Aaron Jones running that ball right there, if he had that hole, it's a touchdown.
Yep.
So give him the ball more.
I said that.
Yeah,
100%. Unless he gets horse collared, and then Josh McDaniels is on his couch going, "Good fucking play."
Yeah.
He deserves to get fired on Halloween.
No. Yeah. Dude, writing was on the wall there.
Yeah. You and your fat head.
All right. How did that translate to the running game? I mean, you kind of just tied that together. I mean, is there anything else you want to say on the running game?
No, not really. I mean, I just wish we would have had more attempts. I feel like there'll be something I want to say about the defense later, but I feel like as soon as we're down, we're just throw. We don't need to be like that. Not against Pittsburgh. Against the Chargers, throw. Because we ain't catching up otherwise. Against Pittsburgh, run the ball still.
Yeah. All right, Jake, you can talk about the red zone offense. I'm going to say what I have to refute you later on. Spoiler alert.
To refute me?
Yes.
What did I say wrong?
Nothing yet.
He just knows you're going to.
Okay, that's fair. So the first red zone trip was part of a 10-play, 69-yard drive.
Nice.
5:19 was the drive length. So that's just a big boy drive. That's an NFL offensive drive. Like that was the response after they came out and punched us in the mouth right away in the game. So I was just like, nice. 2nd and 4 from the 16, Dylan for 5. They handed it off after the new set of downs from the 11, Dylan for 3. Love tried to hit Watson, incomplete, and then a 3rd and 7 at the 8-yard line. Love drops it in the bucket to Romeo Doubs. Great catch by Doubs too, by the way. Keeping the feet in, good body control, just fantastic stuff. The next touchdown we had, we were not in the red zone because Jordan Love decided to just turn into a bomb specialist on last Sunday and hit Jaden Reed for, honestly, that was the throw where I was like, all right, baby, we're here. We're here now. We back up. That's my favorite meme. So then the next one, we were at the 14-yard line, Jones for 1 yard, and then Jones for no gain. And then we were at a 3rd and 9 at the 13-yard line, and Love tried to force one to Musgrave, and that was where Musgrave got popped. In my opinion, that pass could have maybe been a little bit higher, but that's nitpicking at that point, honestly. That would have been a tough catch no matter where the goddamn ball is. He got absolutely leveled. We settled for a field goal, so that was the opening drive of the second half. It is what it is. We got points. I'm happy with it. The next one was a 9-play, 68-yard drive. Took 4 minutes. This red zone trip was set up by a really, really good pass to Luke Musgrave. If Luke Musgrave doesn't have 2 left feet or 2 right feet, doesn't matter which one you pick, it trips over his own feet.
Somebody said that he has deer feet, and I can't unsee it.
New baby-born deer feet, yeah.
Just like, what is happening? First play from the 15-yard line, Love hits Reed for 6 yards. Second and 4th and 9, we tried to hand it off to Jones, -1, so we're at the 10-yard line. 3rd and 5 at the 10-yard line, Love tried to throw to Musgrave, another incomplete pass, settle for another field goal. Then we get to the third one. This one was set up by a 32-yarder to Dontavian Wicks. Another good throw and a fantastic route, in my opinion, by Dontavian Wicks. He showed very good patience on this route to settle down in the zone. We had 1st and 10 at the 15. Jones for 1 yard, and then we had 2nd and 9 at the 14. And this is where Love tried to force the ball to Watson a little bit, and it was like, in my opinion, if that ball was thrown like the Romeo Dubs pass, just to the opposite corner, I think Watson has a better chance at it. But on the other end of the spectrum, this is where I talk about Watson needing to buy into the physical receiver kind of mindset. Go and get the damn ball. And I don't want to like rip on either guy, but both guys are at fault for this one, in my opinion. I don't think it's either one. Both of them are at fault. And I think they both will tell you that. The last drive, I'm not even going to talk about the interception, okay? And I don't want to hear no bullshit about it. I'm like really done with that conversation. But I'm just going to say this. Love made some big boy throws. Jaden Reed made a big boy play on that first pass that really set us up. Everybody played fantastic. The offensive line was blocking good. The only thing I would say was bad was Aaron Jones on that last drive. He was, I think, god awful on that last drive. Just get out of bounds, man. You're supposed to be the leader on this team. Everybody looks to you for guidance, and you're still a tremendous person and tremendous teammate, but you got to get out of bounds on that. That gives us another shot. So other than that, man, I mean, I'm not upset. I think the red zone offense is something that needs to improve, but I think it's okay.
All right. So on the third down offense, I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. 6 third downs in the first half, 10 third downs in the second half, and 1 fourth down. So the Packers were 8 of 16 overall on third down, which is fantastic.
Yep.
The 4 of 6 in the first half, 6.5 yard average distance, which isn't terrible. And then they were 4 of 10 in the second half, and then they were 1 for 1 on the fourth down in the second half. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the third downs when I talk about the offense for the preview part of it. But that's essentially where I'm at with the third downs. Bryant, how did special teams do?
Not good. It's going to be a little bit of a rant, but I'm kind of over it, to be honest. I'm over people saying Rich Bisaccia should be a head coach, and maybe that's a little too much, but this unit is poorly coached. Or they poorly execute. Something is going on. I get players have to execute, but there's something going on, okay? So Carlson nearly kicked it out of bounds on the first to start the game, and then he turns around and does kick it out of bounds. The block kick was a joke, just miserable execution. I think, if I remember right, Matt LaFleur said they seen something on tape with it, and then it just didn't get executed. So maybe that's good to coaching because they seen something, but then it didn't get executed. I guess the one bright spot would be Nixon had another long return. I think he's on the verge of breaking one, but just something going on with the special teams. Like we are not a good enough team right now, or we're too young and to where we can make these kinds of mistakes on special teams and win games. Yep. Like it's not good enough.
So we've had all many penalties throughout the weeks on special teams too. Which
I didn't
think was a big deal this week, but it's something that's happened throughout the season a lot.
Exactly, like it's got to be one of the most penalized special team units, and that's discipline. I don't care. I know people are young, but that's still discipline. But for me, it's just like, missed kicks are going to happen, but blocks that egregious should not happen. Like just things like that. So,
oh God,
I'm exhausted with it, to be honest.
Packers have 15 special teams penalties.
Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm telling you. It's like,
oh man,
it's not just the players. There's some discipline issues going on.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gross.
If for what odd of ungodly reason Matt LaFleur gets fired, which I don't think he should, I would be very upset if they named it Rich Bisaccia. Maybe, you know what, maybe he's an excellent head coach, but to me, his special teams unit, for all the people that they all talk about and hand-wring about bringing in for special teams aces and all this stuff, they have not been nearly good enough. And I get there's injuries, but at some point, someone needs to step up or be coached better.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Tyler Davis tearing his ACL ruined our season.
Yeah. Working out.
All right. Real quick on the secondary, I'm going to tie this in. So, Jake, I'm going to jump you for rushing defense because I want to tie the tackling in, and then I want to let you talk about the rushing defense, and then I want to add a couple things in on the rushing defense as well. So, I'm going to start with Rudy Ford was the leading tackler. He did have – I'll save that. Rudy Ford was the leading tackler. Jonathan Owens, not bad. Valentine did have 2 passes to the fence. He was okay overall. He was targeted 7 times, was the most. Gave up 4 receptions for only 37 yards. So overall, secondary, not terrible in the passing defense game. However, I mentioned when Spofford was on that the Packers had 16 missed tackles. 9 of them came from the secondary.
Yeah,
which is rough.
No.
Now, Jake, to tie this into the rushing defense, 119 yards after contact. That's over 50% of their total. So, Jake, talk about the rushing defense, and then I just want to throw one thing out there as far as the defense is concerned.
I'm going to keep this short. I wrote down a lot of numbers. I had a lot of shit to say. I'm just going to keep this real short. The Russian defense was fucking garbage, straight up. Like, I'm not even going to mince words. Like, it was garbage. The thing that makes me mad about Barry, I don't give a shit what LaFleur says. I really don't. Don't try to tell me that these outside linebackers are DNs. I understand what you're trying to say because we have big outside linebackers. I'm not fucking buying that. We need to put more bodies in the box. When you look at the box, you see 2 linemen and you see 2 inside linebackers. That's the box, Matt. You can't just make the box a rectangle, dude. That pissed me off when he said that. Dude, I don't like the alignments they run in short yardage situations. Why are we running Kenny in a 3-tech? You know how easy that is to double team him in a 3 technique? Look at the red zone run that Harris had. Go look at that. And you tell me how easy it is to double team these guys in the red zone. That's the shit that pisses me off. That's enough of that. This week, Austin Eckler might run for 200 yards by himself if we keep running this damn same defense. But that's all I got to say on that. That shit is getting annoying to me.
I want to throw this out on the other side of the coin is, regardless of how you feel about the scheme, I just want to see Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden get more snaps.
Yeah.
But let me say this. So out of the 205 yards, 77 of them came on the first 2 drives. That's 37.5% of their rushing production on 20% of their possessions.
I'll give you that if there still wasn't 140 yards remaining for the rest of the game, because 140 yards in a game would still put us in the bottom third of the league.
But here's where I'm going with this. Here's where I'm going with this. So the Steelers had 10 possessions. They scored 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives.
Yep.
After that, the next 8 possessions, 3 field goals, 5 punts. So that's a scenario where I'm okay with giving up the yards because they're not giving up the points. If they had given up field goals on those first 2 drives, then you're looking at, 8 less points in the game, and the Packers win.
I will say this.
Obviously, I mean, it's a little unrealistic to expect to hold a team to 5 field goals and 5 punts. But I'm just saying.
I'll say this one thing just to kind of counteract what you're saying is, I understand what you're saying. They're not getting the points. They're still running precious time off the clock with those rush yards.
Right, and that's the thing where the Packers don't have the firepower on the offense necessarily put together yet to score quickly often.
Agreed.
Yeah, and that's just a thing where it's, as they mature, it's something that we see the potential for it to come together.
Yeah, it'll get there. I think it will.
Right. So, Jake, defensive line / pass rush.
Pass rush. What the hell is a pass rush? Man, Bryant, I know you felt the same way. I was screaming at my TV. I was like, well, why don't you just get home? I felt like I was part of that Adam Sandler movie. You're too good for your home? Go home. We had one stack, Preston Smith, We had 1 hit. It was Campbell. We had 8 hurries. Clark had 3 of them. Smith had 1. Slayton, Ford, Gary, and Wyatt, they all had 1 as well. In terms of the D-line, I wrote down Clark, Slayton, Wyatt, and Wooden. And I went from the rush defense perspective because that was kind of the big thing this week. Clark had 27 run D snaps. He had 3 tackles. He had 2 missed tackles, and his average depth of tackle was 2 yards. So that's not horrible. The 2 misses is horrible, but the average depth of tackle is not horrible.
I don't want to dog Kenny Clark, but he was in the wrong spot on a lot of plays.
Yeah, he was. Slayton, our 3rd star, he also had 27 run D snaps. He had 7 tackles. His average depth of tackle was 2.6, so not horrible. He's the guy right in the middle, so he's
livable.
Beat up. Wyatt had 14. He had 1 tackle. He had 2 assists. His average depth of tackle was 1. And Wooden only had 5 run D snaps, and he had 0 tackles. So, I mean, in terms of
needs more than 10 snaps. My guy Colby Wooden needs more than 10 snaps.
Yeah. Total. In terms of the run defense, I would say that Clark and Slayton, if they're going to be the guys that are going to be in on the run defense, since we're playing 2 down linemen, we're not playing 4, like Matt LaFleur said, they need to play better. Plain and simple. Is what it is.
I agree.
I don't understand.
He's not happy with Kenny lately.
I haven't looked much into it either, but I don't understand what we're doing with Lucas Van Ness. I feel like the only time he's making plays is when he's cleaning up behind somebody else that held somebody else behind the line of scrimmage or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. He played horrible. He had 11 defensive run snaps, and he had 2 missed tackles in those 11 snaps. So
he's not they need to change the scheme and get some of these. We have too much talent for these guys. I'm sorry, Joe Barry needs to go. Like, not that during this year, but we need to do something different.
I have always been jealous of the Baltimore Ravens fans because of their defense. They just play such an aggressive brand of defense. And I'll never forget this as a kid watching a Ravens game. I think they might have been playing the Steelers, actually, because that was a big rivalry. It was like a Sunday night game. They legitimately put like 8 guys on the left side of the offensive line and just said, good fucking luck. Pick one. And it was like, dude, I want that in Green Bay.
Do something different, yeah.
I'm sick of hearing that they were the more physical team. Like, when was last? I feel like we never say that about Green Bay. And I know we have some dogs on that side. Lucas Van Ness is a monster. Preston Smith is a big dude. Gary wrecks people. Clark too. But it's like we're just playing passive and soft, and I don't understand it.
What did I just talk about on Wednesday, Tyler? What did I just freaking talk about, dude?
I want to be in a scenario where I want to see our secondary healthy so that we can trust it.
That's fair.
Like, and I get that Kenny Pickett is a guy where you maybe just trust it anyways. But we need Jair on the field so that we can put an extra guy in the box.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get Quay back this week.
Oh my fucking God. I missed Quay so badly last week when I saw all the missed tackles. I put it in the chat with all of us. I'm like, I miss Quay Walker.
And Rudy Ford is the one we're missing more than people realize too.
Well, he had 3 missed tackles last week too, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh wait, he did play last week. Maybe
he's doubtful this week though. All right, Bryant, how did the Packers do on the red zone defense?
I mean, they give up touchdowns in 2 of the 3 red zone, so not great. But overall, they played well between the tackles. But what I heard the stat earlier, and I knew it was high, but why does it seem the Packers took the lead, and in 5 plays, we were down again? I can't remember who said it, but I think it's now 5 times in this season we've taken the lead, and the opposing team scored on the next drive. Where's the complementary defense? Like, we're complaining about the offense. They gave us the lead again, and in 5 plays, because it was 1 big play, 3 plays and a field goal, we're losing again. And I think I want to say it was 5 times now this year that's happened. That the team we scored and the team immediately turned around and scored again. So, yeah, red zone defense was fine. I mean, not great, it's 66%, right? But they were only in the red zone 3 times. But when you're giving up the lead every time you take it, you turn around and give it back up. I feel like I'm watching the Twins in baseball. Like,
Barry said there's no motivation in the field. I don't think it's an issue of motivation. I think it's more an issue of execution, honestly.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked about it, that the responsibility is shared among everybody. This is probably a question better served for the offseason, But just thinking about it, the way that we're talking about it right now, and what you guys are wanting for a defense, what do you guys think about bringing in potentially a college defensive coordinator that doesn't have any NFL experience that would basically bring a brand of defense that the NFL doesn't use in the best interest of making things different? Would you really be willing to go that radically different?
I think now this team has talent, obviously. 8 first-round picks on defense. A lot of them, in and out of the lineup and stuff, whatever. I think this team needs a guy that's either old school and going to get them back to the principles of playing football, because hearing that stuff about freaking Savage, I remember hearing that last year that he was freelancing. That shit pisses me off. It means they don't respect Barry. Or they need a high-energy guy. So if you're bringing a guy in from college, he's got some new ideas, and he's high energy, he's in your face, he's a little bit closer to their age, that might be a thing that could matter. I'm okay with it.
Barry said, bring me Coach Prime in as DC. Just kidding. No, not as DC. Offensive coordinator, maybe, not defense.
Coach Prime? Like
Deion Sanders?
Yeah, dude, why wouldn't he be a DC? Why would he be an OC?
Because Colorado's defense is struggle busted.
Yeah, but he played corner.
I get that he played it, but his team's
he ain't leaving college. I want to go to one of these defenses that have been stout for a long time, that just shut who's like the Washington's defensive coordinator. That defense seems just stout every year. Or Georgia's, you know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know these guys. I haven't watched a lot of college.
That's why I said maybe this is a better question for the offseason, but I just on the hypothetical.
I was mad. I was very upset this last year that we kept Barry and then Flores was chilling out there. I think I talked about several times in the chat. I cannot believe we wouldn't bring Brian Flores in as a DC. It was just mind-boggling to me.
Look at Minnesota's defense too. They're balling out.
They're overperforming.
Hell yeah, they are. Flores is a great coordinator. I would have loved that signing, dude.
Oh. A lot of people poo-poo on coaching sometimes, but I don't know why. Look at what Mike Tomlin is doing with the Steelers. That team has no business being 6-3, and they are 6-3.
Oh, that's what you get when you have Mike Tomlin. He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's top 5, easy.
Oh yeah, easy.
I would trade 2 first-round draft picks for that guy.
I don't know about 2 first-rounders.
I would in heartbeat. I would.
I'll give him a first and our extra second.
I was thinking the Jets pick too. All right.
Still going to be a high pick.
Jake, third down defense.
All right. I'll keep this short too because this shoot really isn't that bad. So I break it down all the time as 3rd and 3 and shorter, 3rd, 4 and 6, the 3rd mediums, and 3rd and 7 and longer. So the 3rd and manageables that you should be able to control as a defense, right? So overall, they went 4 of 13. They went 1 of 1 on 4th down. The 1 4th down they picked up, Warren ran for 8 yards, got to the GB 32. That set up a field goal. The first 3rd and short that they had, they didn't pick it up, but they did pick it up because of a penalty. That led to their first touchdown. They only had 1 3rd down on that drive.
That was a fucking trash penalty too.
That sucks.
That was weak.
They picked up 3 consecutive 3rd downs, 3rd and 3s or shorter, all in their second drive. That also led to a touchdown. So this is going to be absolutely insane. But after that, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row 3rd downs that they did not pick up. Guess what? They didn't fucking score. Pretty crazy how that works, right? Then the 4th down that they picked up was the next drive after they didn't pick up all those 3rd downs. They got a field goal out of it, obviously. And then the last 3rd down that they picked up was a 3rd and 6. There was 2:32 left in the 4th. That was when Pickett scrambled out to the outside, and I was ready to crack my TV in half because I was like, are you fucking serious? We had the goddamn game. But, it is what it is. Just got to be a little bit more consistent, and it's the timing of the 3rd downs as well, not just the amount and the percentages. And this is kind of where the context comes in. But that last 3rd down that they picked up with Pickett was just that was the kind of thing I was worried about, was him kind of scrambling out and picking up 3rd downs and extending drives when he has no business doing that because he's not an NFL quarterback.
It was the difference of having the 2-minute warning.
Yep.
And 2 minutes and 15 seconds versus having 59 seconds.
Yeah, that was a big ass play, dude.
Yeah. On the subject of coaching, we talked about it with Mike Spofford. The only other thing I want to say, the time of possession, it was almost dead even. So I really don't have any complaints there. Obviously, I would prefer the Packers win the time of possession, but if it's even, I'm not really going to complain about it. It's Jordan Love. We talked about that a lot with Mike Spofford as well. The last thing that I want to say is we didn't bring this up on the interception at the end of the game is you guys kind of touched on it like, well, what would you rather do? Have him take a sack or throw an incompletion? My thing was, and this was, again, just people on the internet who are really only trying to say things that fit their narrative is, well, why doesn't Jordan Love just run and scramble around? And the thing is, like, sure, that's a great idea in theory, but the longer that Jordan Love runs around, the greater the chance that there's a sack or a penalty. So, yeah, it's like, oh, great, just have Jordan Love just run around in circles for like 6 days. And I'm sure somebody will be open eventually. Scramble drill. Like, the odds of the penalty, like, the longer you hold the ball, go up and up and up and up and up and up. And one of the guys chasing Jordan Love around is TJ Watt. So he's there.
And if you listen to Matt LaFleur, that was a timing play. The DB just didn't break like they expected to because you had 7 of them over there. But they literally practiced that play to throw it right when he breaks to hopefully catch it and fall into the end zone. He was talking about it. He said
3 seconds to work with.
The DB made a good play and just didn't break and follow the other person.
Yeah.
What do you want him to do?
You're playing 5-on-7. Then, like I said, this dude on Twitter was like, well, I would have drawn this play. They could have drawn up a play to get him open. And I'm like, please draw this play. Please draw me this miracle play where you run 5-on-7 and get a guy open. He's like, well, you could line up trips on one side. I'm like, they're on the 16-yard line. Yeah, you can run trips to try to get a guy, to rub open. Except all of the DBs are on the end zone line. They're not lined up on the line of scrimmage where you can get them to run into each other. They're literally waiting for you at the goal line.
Right.
The only other thing I could think you could do is line them all 5 up, the wide receivers on that side. I don't know, that's probably not legal, but have the runs run over and throw a screen to like the 8-yard line and just hope that you get a block and run it in. And then you're still 5-on-7. That means you have 3 people on blocked, so you better make a play.
Right.
Well, the only thing that I maybe would have done is just make sure that Watson and Musgrave are in the same area, have Reed come underneath and just throw it up. But that's the only answer you could say.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think Love did the right thing. Call Hike, try to get it to him, see if Watson can make a play, sneak in.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Barry said so many negative Packer fans out there. You have to be positive. And it's not even that we're trying to force people to be positive. It's really we just want to just acknowledge the other perspective.
Man.
With optimism, because honestly, we believe so strongly in this that it affects your life. It really does. Like, you can't tell me that if you're a negative fan that losing doesn't have a negative impact, at least on the rest of your day.
It used to ruin my first half of weeks.
Man.
And now I'm like, don't get me wrong, we get to Super Bowl and we lose. I'm probably taking a couple days off and sitting in my basement. But
just crying. I get it. But I mean, even still, I mean, you can just shift the perspective and be like, we're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
30 teams don't do that every year.
Yep.
True.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say on the Steelers game?
Beat the dead horse.
I'll just say he was better on the deep ball. Throws 20 to 30 yards down the field. He was 5 for 7, 145 yards and a touchdown. So that's awesome stuff. Hey, I talked about it in the primer. I talked about the deep ball was the only thing that Love needed to work on. Also, the medium passes. He was 5 of 10 for 97 yards, had a touchdown.
He's
been good on those. It's the layups for me. The layups.
He did have 2 interceptions, though. One of them was the end gamer, and the other one obviously was the other one he kind of forced to Watson. But other than that, man, I mean, that's great. I mean, 10 out of 17 is pretty fucking good on 15 to 30 yard passes. That's pretty fucking good.
Dude, that deep intermediate, I'm telling you. The medium deep or the deep mediums, what I was getting all tongue-tied on last week. The deep medium passes, just dimes all day.
Yeah, he had some good ones.
Barry said that's why you guys are the only show I watch. Well, I appreciate that, Barry. Okay, so let's move into preview. Bryant, what are you looking for from the Packers offense against the Chargers?
All right, so this is what I wrote. So Can this offense create enough explosive plays to keep up with the Chargers? Chargers defense is not good. They are, in fact,
it's good on paper.
Yeah, I just want to throw it out here on live, like on a recording. Put it in perspective a little more, Packers fans. Chargers fans, the few that they have, they should be a lot more upset than we are. This team has so much talent, a top 5 quarterback in the league, and they're still 4-5. All right, but anyways, back to what I was saying is they have good players, but they just don't play well together. I did put almost like the Packers, it's like we got to play better. But I just want to see.
Ours are young. Theirs are veterans.
Yeah, I just want to see Love to continue to rip it and keep trying to make those plays on field. The Chargers are giving up 393 yards a game. 291 of those are through the air. They're giving up 291 passing yards a game in the air. That's the worst in the league. We have to be able to move the ball against this team. I know we want to see the running back take over the game because we are young, and that's probably the best way we will succeed. But I think this is a game where you're just come out firing. They're giving up 8.1 yards per completion, and a completion percentage of 68%. So, I mean,
they've raised it up by 1% this week.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, right. They have touchdowns. The one thing they do well is rush the passer. We do have to watch out for Bosa and Mac, but this game, just come off firing. Let's turn it into a good old fashioned shootout here. Or try to.
I would love a Jordan Love, Justin Herbert 2020 draft class shootout.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to talk about that too.
All right, Jake, what are you looking for from the offense?
So, hey, that boy Barry, you're a little ahead of us though. See, I wrote 47-50, so you're in the range. I'm in the range. Total, they give up 393, like Brian said. That's 31st. 32nd in pass. They're 11th against the rush. They gave up 102. They gave up 200 rush yards last week to the Lions. Lions have a really good offensive line though, and they're 24th in points per game. They give up 23.9 points per game. So what I'm looking for is the Packers to mix up the play calling. Tyler, to your credit, you called it as well. I think Matt LaFleur did a really good job last week of mixing the run with the pass, working in the play action, the intermediate, the deep shots. I think that you just continue with the same game plan. Run, pass, short, long. I'm not expecting Aaron Jones to be bad like he was last week. I'm expecting Aaron Jones to be much better this week. So still get him the ball. I would still like to get him 15 to 20 touches. He's going to score a touchdown this week. That's not one of my Simon Says, but I'm just going to say he's going to score a touchdown this week. And you just keep going. In terms of the Chargers defense, I just want to put this out there real quick. The first half, they give up 12.8 points per game in the first halves. In the second half, they give up 10.8 points per game in the second half. So they're just bad in both halves. On the road, they're a little bit better, actually. They give up 11.8 points per game on the road in the first half and 9.5 in the second half.
They honestly probably have more fans on the road than they do at home.
Well, apparently that one lady who was just like a super fan, I'm really hoping she's there and they show her on the big new Jumbotron that's at Lambeau.
Well, did you see, though, that the Chargers returned some of their tickets because they couldn't sell them?
Shut up.
Yeah, they returned them to Green Bay this last week. They could not sell their tickets. So they returned them to Green Bay, and Green Bay sold them.
Well,
I feel bad for
what you play football, baby.
LA doesn't deserve a football team, let alone two. So I feel really bad for the Chargers. They never have a home game, bro. Every team they play is at least 50%.
Look at the Rams when they play the 49ers. That is a 49ers home game, dude.
Yep.
That's horrible. It is. The whole stadium's red, except the sidelines say Rams house.
San Diego said
Ramley. The hell is Ramley, dude? It's the dumbest tagline of all time.
The Chargers said it last year or whatever. It'd be nice to have a home game because they don't have home games.
Man, poor Justin Herbert. That guy's got to go. He's playing for a poverty franchise.
Man, and the thing is, their roster is loaded on paper.
Dude, Keenan Allen, please come to Green Bay. Love that guy. Love him.
I mean, Mike Williams, unfortunate for him, he can't stay healthy. But and they drafted Quentin Johnson. Man, they're Austin Eckler. They're getting some stuff from their tight ends. I wouldn't say they have good tight ends, but
Jared Everett's
roster loaded on paper. Obviously, Bosa, Mac, Derwin James. That the roster's loaded on paper. There's no.
When you have to go to silent count in your own stadium, I just feel bad for the team. I don't know why they moved him to LA. It's just sad.
Yeah.
All right. So my big thing for the Packers offense is third down. That's my thing that I talk about on offense. It's the thing that I come back to on this is the Packers are actually meeting the goal that I set for them this year, which was 40% on third downs. They were at 39.5% last season. So if there's one thing you want to look at that Jordan Love has brought to the Packers offense better than they were last year, it's third downs. Yep. So they're at 42.74% conversions on third downs. They are in the top half of the league, which was my other goal. Mm-hmm. So they're at number 8. And here's the thing. The Chargers defense is number 3 in the NFL in third down conversions on defense.
They are.
So the Packers, one of the things that they've done successfully is third downs. One of the things the Chargers do good on defense is third downs. So that's really my main thing that I'm paying attention to actually on both sides of the ball because the Packers are number 8 in third down conversions on offense. Chargers are number 9.
They are.
So right there. And as far as the defense is concerned, every single thing that I would want to say about the defense, it comes down to the tackling. I cannot see another 16 missed tackles in the stat sheet when I look it up on the game on Monday or Tuesday. I cannot see a 16. I don't want to see 2 digits. Can't do it. That's one thing that's going to make my heart weak. I saw the 16. I was shook for 5 minutes that I had to look at that I was like, there's no way that that's a real number. 16 missed tackles, that needs to be cut in half at least. So, Bryant, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the Chargers?
I mean, the Chargers I was surprised to see them. They're like kind of mid-tier, but I know this team is super explosive. I have one of the most explosive, consistent players in the NFL in Austin Eckler. Keenan Allen's will shred us apart if we play him in man coverage. So we better play something. We better disguise our coverage as well against this guy because he's an excellent route runner. They have the ability to put up a lot of points quickly. Herbert, 18 touchdowns on the season, only 5 interceptions. He only sacked about 2 times a game, so they're not getting a lot of pressure on him. Really, so we're just going to have to – this defense, the one area I'm hoping, we've been decent in the red zone all year. I think we're still below 50% even after the not great game against Pittsburgh. If we can force them to kick some field goals, we'll have a chance to keep up, I think. But we cannot let them get out to a fast start and not match that energy on offense, I should say. But the offense, I'm hoping they can force a few field goals, essentially.
Yeah, that's fair. Looking at the red zone percentage, Packers are number 10 in opponent red zone.
Stay away from the red zone, okay? I'm going to talk about it.
All right, go ahead. I just wanted to look it up because Bryant wasn't sure. I was just
talking about red zone defense. You have red zone offense, don't you?
Just trying to help a brother out. All right, Jake, what are you looking for from the defense?
For me, we got to the pass rush has to show up, like plain and simple. You guys remember this guy? His name's Clay Matthews. Just recently heard news that he's going to be inducted into the Packers Hall of Fame next year. You never had to question that guy's effort. I'll tell you that right now. Every time that guy strapped up, I mean, he was literally doing like Superman jumps at Colin Kaepernick. I will never forget that. That was amazing. That made me love Clay. The Packers defense has to be 100% every snap because Herbert is a stud. Does not matter what field he's playing on, grass, turf, outside, inside, doesn't give a shit. That guy can sling that shit. He's got Keenan Allen, okay? He's got Austin Eckler, all right? We have to get after Justin Herbert, make him uncomfortable. He's still recovering from an injury. Just ask my fantasy football team. But other than that, let's just get after Herbert. They're really good on offense, by the way, except rushing the ball. But, yeah, they're good on offense.
So one thing you guys haven't brought up, and I'm shocked that you haven't brought up, is that the Chargers have a really good offense.
Same.
All right. Bryant, what's the matchup that you're watching?
Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell against Austin Eckler in the passing game.
Okay.
And running game, both. Like, if we can slow down, they have 2 really big weapons. If we can slow down Austin Eckler and just kind of, and like let Keenan Allen will probably eat, but if we can slow down Austin Eckler, I think a lot flows through them. He has to have a good game to keep them rolling. For the most part, like I said, they're so good that they're going to score either way, but I'm just hoping we can slow down Austin Eckler a little bit. But if he goes for over 200 total yards this game, I will not be surprised.
Jake Berry said he still has all of his Quick Trip cups too.
No, I don't.
Jake, what's the matchup that you're watching?
I'm watching Austin Eckler versus the Packers defense, and I wanted to talk about tackling, but I know you're going to hit on that a little bit more. But the last 2 weeks,
I'm talking about tackling for now. I think I've hammered on it enough.
Okay. The last 2 weeks, Eckler has had 33 carries, 114 rush yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 catches, 14 targets, and 71 yards. He's had catches of 24 and 17 yards. He's had rushes of 17 and 20 yards. The guy can make big plays running the ball or catching the ball. He's one of the best dual threats in the league. He touches the ball a lot. He gets the ball thrown at him a lot. Point blank period. Stop Austin Eckler. The way people talk about Aaron Jones, that's Austin Eckler for them.
Yep.
Slow him down.
Yeah. I have one for the Packers offense against the Chargers defense, actually. I went with the Packers offensive line versus the Chargers pass rush. Can the Packers go 2 weeks in a row of holding elite pass rushers to not a lot of sacks?
They have 3 dogs. That Ford guy, Mac, and Bosa. This is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they can do it, I think that actually gives the Packers a chance.
I like it.
All right. Bryant, what is your X factor?
Luke Musgrave is my X factor this week. Chargers are averaging nearly 70 yards a game, giving up tight ends, and a 78.6 completion rate. So they've given up over 650 yards or something like that to tight ends so far on the season. So I think with that pass rush, Jordan Love's going to have to look for quick outs or quick outlets, and I think Musgrave could have a big game on out routes and in the middle of the field. The 5 to 7 yard range. Just pick them apart a little bit, slow them down.
Yeah, just throw the ball right behind the pass rush. I like that.
Yeah.
Jake, who is your X factor?
I kind of touched on it before, but it's the Love and Watson duo. I feel like Love is just really trying to just hammer that home and just make it work. And I know Watson is too, but this is the last piece that this offense needs before it just absolutely skyrockets and takes off into the top 10 in the NFL. So I'm looking for them to get on track. Obviously, we talked about the numbers. The Chargers give up 290 plus pass yards per game. Love and Watson, baby. Let's make it happen.
And to your point, the thing with Love and Watson is as they develop, their rapport, and we haven't brought this up actually, is that Watson missed a chunk of time in the beginning of the season.
Yep.
So they don't have 4 games of experience together yet.
Yep.
Is what it does for everybody else.
Yep.
It makes everything easier for everybody else when teams have to pay more attention to Christian Watson.
I agree.
So mine is not a player. My X factor is third downs. So the Packers are the Packers are 8th on offense, 13th on defense. The Chargers are 9th on offense, 3rd on defense. There's both of these are good third down teams on both sides of the ball. So that's really what I'm watching. Seriously, this whole game to me is going to come down to third downs. So that being said, Bryant, what is your key to the game?
I mean, it sounds simple, right? But it's score touchdowns, not field goals. Kind of like I was talking about with the Chargers. We need to hold some field goals. We need to score some touchdowns. If we're in the red zone, anything 4th and 3 and less, I want to go for it at this point, in this game, because I know for a fact that the Chargers can turn around and punch us right in the mouth and score in 4 plays. So I want we need to be aggressive and just score points.
Yeah, and finish drives, I would say, too, to add touchdowns instead of field goals. Yeah. Jake, what's your key to the game?
So the numbers behind Brian's thought, because I'm also going with the red zone offense on both ends here. The Green Bay Packers have a 46.8%. This is just touchdowns. 46.8% red zone trips ending in touchdowns. That is 27th in the NFL. That is freaking putrid. The LA Chargers are 72% of their red zone trips end in touchdowns. So I looked up the home and road as well because Green Bay's at home and Chargers are on the road. Green Bay, 40% red zone touchdowns at home. The Chargers are still 63% red zone touchdowns on the road. That, along with the third downs, because I was going to write down the third downs. I had all these numbers that Tyler was spouting off. So I was like, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I switched to red zone because I was like, God, we suck in the red zone right now. So red zone offense on both ends.
You ready to punch? You ready for me to punch a whole bunch of holes in your red zone theory here?
You can try. Go ahead.
My key is to finish between the 10 and the 20-yard line. The Packers, guess what they rank in goal to go situations?
I don't know.
Just take a stab at it because I bet you're wrong.
Third in the league.
What'd you say?
Third.
Jake, you venture a guess.
11th.
Number 1. Packers are number 1 in the NFL in goal-to-go situations, which means all of their red zone woes happen between the 10 and the 20.
That's fair.
So that's where my key to the game is finish between the 10 and the 20-yard line. They're number 1 in goal-to-go. They're 27th overall in the red zone.
Yeah.
So finish between the 10 and the 20.
It's like the yellow.
Right. All right, so we can. We want to go with Barry's weather report, or we want to go to Jake's?
Put it on there. Hey, if you want to be involved, I'm all for it.
I was shocked. They were talking to LaFleur about it, and they're like, I think we're like one of the best in the league, and they're like, you're number 1. I'm like,
goal to go.
And I'm like, fuck, really? Like, and Jake brought up obviously they're 27th overall. I mean, it's wild that makes that big of a difference in that 10-yard section.
Pretty nice weather actually for the game, huh?
It is actually.
Go ahead and
not
read that.
Super windy, 47 degrees. Wind will be light. I have sunny skies as well. So not mostly sunny. I have
there we go.
Circled.
Got the caption on and everything. All right, Bryant, score prediction from the head.
So my score prediction from the head is Chargers 28, Packers 20.
Mine's not far off. I have Chargers 27, Packers 17.
If we don't score 20 points this game, we're not scoring 20 points the rest of the season. Maybe against the Bears.
Well, I mean, we played some lower competition. I mean, we're going to score 20 against the fucking Giants, dude. They're terrible. They might be the worst team in the NFL.
I was just going to say, like, you want to talk about a team who would be happy to be the Packers right now? It's the Giants.
Seriously. They're starting Danny DeVito's freaking grandson at freaking quarterback. That guy's terrible.
Off topic, but my brother sent a picture of Brian Daboll, and if you flip his head around, he looks the exact same. The hair from the top. I'll send it to you guys.
So he has a perfectly round head, dude.
I'll send it to you guys right now.
All right. So for my score prediction from the head, I have the Chargers. This is the first time I've done this all year where I picked the opponent, but I have Chargers winning 27-23.
Ooh, close one.
Just sent it. Take a peek real quick.
Oh, God.
I'm going to wait till after I say this next score. So I might lose my shit.
Oh, my God. What the hell? That's so weird and unsettling.
Oh, God.
Looks like Mickey Rourke in Sin City. All right. Bryant, score prediction from the heart.
Packers 28, Chargers 27. This is, like I said earlier in the game, this team, their little fans they have should be disappointed in this team, and they seem to lose games they should win. So it's very possible they find a way to lose this game against us. So I put 28 Packers, 27 Chargers.
Love it.
Barry, we'll save it for the week we play the Giants. I have Packers 27, Chargers 23.
Ooh. Okay. So I have Green Bay 24, Chargers 20.
All right. Well, I think we're all predicting some close games here. All right, let's do some Simon Says, and then I want to talk about the rookies real quick because I have some what I'll say are pretty mind-blowing numbers.
All right, Brian, kick us off.
After you check that picture.
I did.
All right, I'll look right now. Put it in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Oh, Jesus. Bro, are you serious right now?
All right, anyways.
Oh, my God.
Barry said he's going out of left field that they tie.
Bro. Oh, my God. He has the same double chin either way, dude. That's hilarious.
So my Simon Says for offense. Love has never thrown for 300 yards in a game. He throws for over 350 this week.
Ooh, 350.
Whoa.
If you would have said 300, I would have said yes. He had 288 last week. It's gonna take a dropless game.
Be dropping dimes.
Well, he's dropping dimes, but it's going to take.
I'm going to say no. That's too many yards.
Yeah, I would have said yes to 300. 350 is a lot.
But then you're gonna call me a hypocrite when you hear mine. Are you ready?
Barry asked if you guys are going hunting this weekend. I'm not a hunter. I grew up.
I'm not a hunter either.
I'll just give you mine. Mine's pretty vanilla. Mine is Love 3 touchdowns.
Huh? I think so. I think we're gonna. I really like if he throws the ball 50 times this week. Whatever at this point.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is getting enough touches.
Well, throw 10 passes to Aaron Jones then.
I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. I have Love's first 300-yard game with 4 touchdown passes.
What's more likely, 4 touchdowns or 350?
The 4 touchdowns easily.
Yeah, those can be kind of.
I would honestly, out of the 2, I would say the 350.
Really? Huh.
Yeah,
that's fair.
The Chargers, they give up more yards than
You're about to have an Aaron Rodgers and Houston game. Well,
dude, I'm in.
Same.
It'd be wild, or the first half against the Bears,
or Matt Flynn against the Lions. I mean,
hey, or Matt Flynn against the Patriots. Shit, I would take that. Barry said I need Jones to give me a good game for fantasy. All right, Bryant, what about defense?
I have pretty simple defense / special teams scores a touchdown. One of the two, either or. One of them.
I'm with it. I'm on board.
I feel like that's how we upset this team.
Hey,
big way of doing it. Awesome. So I put defense / special teams scores a touchdown, and then rest don't screw us over and take it away.
Bro, okay, I will say this: the Rashawn Gary fumble recovery wouldn't have been a touchdown because he stepped out.
I don't care. We could have scored 3 points there minimum.
Still could have been.
Changed the game. Changes the entire game.
Definitely changes the game. They got a field goal on that drive. They're first and goal at the 2. They're getting a touchdown.
I agree.
All right, Jake, what about a defensive one?
You guys are going to say no. The Packers defense holds the Chargers to 90 rush yards.
I can see that happening.
Okay. If they throw the ball a lot, I could see it.
Yeah. Austin Eckler doesn't make most of his production on just rushes, pure rushes. He does a lot through the air. Josh Kelly now can be a little dangerous from time to time. So, but I could see it. I don't think it's likely, but I could see it.
So mine transitions perfectly into talking about the rookies, but the rookies get a turnover, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 passes defense.
Yep. Yes. I feel like that's almost a necessity.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely going to be a necessity.
The only one I could think could be up there is who's going to recover, get the turnover. Right? Is Carrington Valentine? Maybe he'll pick one, or maybe Lucas Van Ness can make a splash play and get the ball or something like that. So.
All right. So this is a lot to be fully disclosure here. We had the question Jake and I did during the Steelers reaction. It was a Darian who's watched our show before, asked if this is Gutekunst's best draft class. And I dug into the numbers, and I have some things. So you guys want offense or defense first?
Offense.
Okay. So the Packers' current leading receiver is a rookie in yards, which is Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed is second in touchdowns, who's a rookie. Luke Musgrave is 5 receptions away from breaking the Green Bay tight end record, not for rookies, period.
For a first season? Oh, wait, what did you say that again?
5 receptions away from breaking the Green Bay tight end record.
Holy cow. He's going to smash that. He'll
Yeah.
break it this week.
He's already got the number 1 rookie tight end record by over 200 yards.
Oh.
He is already over 20 receptions over the number 1 rookie record for the Packers. And the touchdowns, if he finishes with 2 touchdowns, he's got 1 touchdown. If he finishes with 2 touchdowns, that'll be the second most for tight ends in Packers history for rookies. Jaden Reed, he's on pace for some big numbers. He's on pace for 53 receptions for 787 yards and 7.5 touchdowns. The 53 receptions would tie him for second. The 787 yards would be fourth, 4 yards shy of tying Sterling Sharp for third.
I like it.
And then the 7.5 touchdowns would be third, more than Don Hudson and James Lofton had as rookies.
Jeez.
Luke Musgrave is on pace for 55 receptions for 592 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then, Dontavion Wicks, he's on pace for 32 receptions. That's 3 behind Jordy Nelson. He's on pace for 453 yards. That would be 10th. That would be 13 yards behind Davante Adams' rookie season.
Damn.
And he's on pace also for 2 touchdowns because he only has 1 so far.
I'm with it.
So Packers offense, rookies, pretty damn good. Special teams, Anders Carlson is 16 of 17 on extra points. The only one that he missed was blocked. 13 of 15 on field goals, and he's 2 for 2 from 50 plus. Defense, 56 tackles from rookies. That's 8% of the team's total. 8 tackles for loss of 44 of the team. That's 18.2% of their total. And then they have just the 1 interception out of the team's 5. Packers need more interceptions. Period.
Yeah.
And then passes defensed. The rookies have accounted for 10 of the team's 42. That's 23.8% of the passes defensed by this team have come from rookies. 5 of them came from the Rams game by Carrington Valentine, Anthony Johnson Jr., Carl Brooks on those plays, on those passes defense. So 5 of those 10 came in 2 weeks ago's game.
Yep.
So all this Brian Gutekunst doesn't deserve any credit. The GM needs to go is bullshit. This has been what I will say. I'm pretty comfortable saying this is easily his best draft class.
Yeah, I will say this. I want to see the long-term development of him because it could be. Right. It could be. I don't think it is. I think that they've been playing for overall. A lot of our issues haven't been with the rookies. It's been with some veterans not stepping up and playing as well as we thought they would. But it could be, a factor of them getting a lot of snaps because we're so young. But I don't think that's the case because I think Reed, Wicks have shown they could end up being our number 1 and 2 wide receivers next year. Like I love Romeo Doubs and I still think he has his role, but I think both Reed and Wicks have shown that they can be more explosive. But Doubs, he's going to be there. He can make some sick catches. So
I like your idea of third down and red zone. Like I don't know if you guys remember when we did our draft prep from that season that like my big thing with Romeo Doubs was his third down strong hands.
I remember.
Yeah. But we'll see. I think Carl Brooks is showing a lot. Colby Wooden's coming around. I think Carrington Valentine has a swagger to be a really, really good cornerback in this league. I think Anthony.
I'm a Colby Wooden guy. I still love his play recognition.
Yep. So Wooden's been good, and then Luke Musgrave. I think give it another year or 2. You're talking about if his trajectory and the way he's been playing continues to improve, he'll be a top 5. I'm ready to say already he'll be a top 5 tight end in the league at that point in 2 years. Because he's just such a threat. Once he gets his realizes I don't have to run 100 miles an hour every play, and he learns to slow down and get into the space, and then once he has the ball in his hands to take off, he's going to be even better than he already is.
He's got to learn a little bit on learning zone defenses, but that's. Yeah.
But that comes, you know what I mean?
Right,
for the most part, most tight ends take 2 years to develop. He's already going to have 50 catches.
Yeah. He's on pace for 52, so let me throw this out there. It does involve giving a little bit of credit to our rivals, but the NFC North has some good fucking tight ends.
Yep. Sam Laporta, I will admit, I said that was a weird pick. I can't believe they took Sam Laporta over Luke Musgrave and stuff. Sam Laporta is absolutely balling out.
Hey, shout out to everybody who dodged Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
I told you that he was not the best tight end in this draft class.
He's started to come around a little bit. He's played okay last few weeks too, but if you told me to redraft it, I'd still, Dalton Kincaid's been really good, but he wasn't there for us. Sam Laporta had already been picked. The only one I might do differently would be taking Washington over Kraft, but it's too early to really say that. Just for the pure blocking, but Kraft's starting to learn that. He's already learning that and pick it up. So I think his receiving.
We've seen Tucker Kraft make some pretty good blocks.
I think Tucker Kraft will be a much better receiving option.
Yep.
In the future,
he's got to grow a lot before we ever talk about Aaron Hernandez and Rob in the receiving part. But his blocking, when I seen him hit TJ Watt like that, I was like, he didn't lose that exchange.
Yeah.
Minimum,
he fell forward. But yeah, this narrative that Brian Gutekunst hasn't deserved any credit for this year's draft class is bullshit. This draft class has been fantastic. I agree with you, Bryant, that we need to give them, see what they develop like. But right now, with the way that this draft class has performed through 10 games, Brian Gutekunst absolutely nailed this draft.
First year impact, easily the best so far.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, other than that, we will be back Tuesday night, because the Packers play next Thursday on Thanksgiving. So we will be back on Tuesday night to recap the Chargers game, preview the Lions game. We are taking next Friday evening off, and then we're going to be back the following Friday. So it's going to be kind of a long while before we recap the Lions game, same way we did the last Lions game from the Thursday night. So other than that, we will be back Tuesday and then the following Friday. So I will see you guys Tuesday night.
I'll be in a little late on Tuesday, but I'll be here.
Unacceptable. You're fired.
Okay, I won't be here.
All righty. See you guys Tuesday.
Take care.